I'm on my phone. I don't see the participants.
Yes, we have 9.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we have 9. We have at least 12 to 18 on.
Oh, perfect.
16 are on right now.
Cool.
You want to give
Yeah, I got all the time, so if we want to wait or we can go, whatever you guys want.
Okay.
I'm here for you guys.
All right. Sounds good.
Look at Daddy.
Here, come here.
Also, everybody, welcome, and I'm going to be muting you. But if you have a question, go to chat or raise your hand, and Brian will be sure to answer. Or he'll try.
I'll Google it for us, sorry.
All right. Are we ready to start? Oh, another one joining in. Hey, good morning.
Morning.
How are you guys?
We're Brian in the house, or the Zoom house.
Here we are.
Keeping socially distant.
Absolutely. There's nobody here. I couldn't get anybody to come with me, so it's just me.
Whoever's in, yeah, Coach Bryan is here. He's the one wearing the hat and the sunglasses, right front and center. He's got the baseball, and we're about to start. Ted and Marianne, are we ready to roll?
Yes, we are.
Whenever you're ready.
All right.
Are you guys, Arnis and Marianne, are you guys able to, do you want to tell me if there's a question?
Yes, I'll go ahead and tell you if there's a question and I can read it.
Okay, perfect.
All right. Here we go. Good morning, everybody. This is Arnis Delakizek from Northwood Little League. The beautiful day. Thank you very much for joining us for our Staying Baseball Strong online Zoom chat with our guest, Coach Bryan. And looks like we have a couple people joining in. And looks like we have a really good turnout of all across the ages of the league. Without further ado, I want to introduce you to Coach Bryan. Coach Bryan grew up primarily, where did you grow up, Coach Bryan?
I'm from Tucson, Arizona, so just south of Phoenix and Scottsdale. It's about an hour and a half south of there. So, yep, the desert rat. So that's me. And
Coach Bryan is a professional baseball player, everybody. He was drafted by the Milwaukee Brewers, but before that happened, he had to start somewhere, right, Coach Bryan?
I did. I started somewhere, and it was from a very early age. I'm looking at a couple kids running around, and I think I was playing catch before I could walk, and yeah, so it was fun. It's been a long journey, and it's cool to be here talking to you guys. It's come full circle.
Awesome. So did you play organized baseball, right? Like where you're at, like leagues and?
Yes, we were, I know right now you guys have all the travel ball and pony and stuff. And for us, that was kind of in its infant stages. So it was, we did the Little League, and those were amazing memories. But I mean, I remember T-ball starting out my first year was atrocious. We were all terrible. And, we stuck with it. And I know people are like, you were horrible. Like, oh, it was bad. It was awful. But yeah, started out at T-ball like everybody else, and just kind of worked my way up as you got older. So yes.
Wow. And then what age did you, when did it hit you like, I'm going to be a professional baseball player?
That's a great question. You'll like this one, Arnis. But I always loved baseball, and it was like a blip on the radar, and it was really cool. But then I just kind of forgot about it and just kept playing. But we were actually out here. I was in 5th grade, I think I was. And we had gone to a tournament. And after a game, we went to a Chili's. And this gentleman comes walking up, and he goes, "Hi, Brian." And I'm like, I don't really talk to strangers. And he goes, "I'd like to introduce myself." And he was a scout for the Red Sox. And he goes, "Yeah, we've been watching you." And I was like, I'm like, am I in 5th grade? Seriously? And he was like, "Yeah, we'll be in touch." So at that point, it was kind of oh, maybe it is feasible. But then, you know, being a kid, I just said, oh, I'm just going to keep having fun and playing with my friends. So that was kind of, I guess, the first inclination that it could be possible. But
Uh-huh.
yeah, that was kind of a out of left field weird thing. But so, yeah, I guess that was kind of the nudge a little bit. So
Good, good. So everybody, Coach Bryan is here to talk about staying baseball strong. And I know a lot of us have been cooped up in the house for good reason. And it looks like in Irvine, the fields have finally opened up for recreation, which is nice. So we could play catch and don't have to look across our shoulders. Get that grass. But Coach Bryan is here to help us get back in the game, right? And
yes, sir.
he's got some really good professional tips. And did you want to start off with some like hitting? I think that's something that a lot of us, right, have to work on. And I think with Major League Baseball, right, if you hit 3 for 10, that's pretty good, right?
That's very good. Yes.
Game of failure, right? And
it is.
So what can you tell these kids about hitting, right? A lot of them are developing and getting used to their game.
I brought my bat. Not that I'll be able to hit anything because I'm old and retired, but I'll do my best. So hitting's a lot of fun. That's usually when I'm teaching kids the thing that people love the most, because it's fun. Looking at a fence and they like to do home run derbies and everything. Hitting's probably the most glorious, but also the most frustrating and you know, it can make or break a game for people usually because they're either really high or really low. So for us, we want to be really consistent. It's one of those things I think with hitting with younger kids and older kids too, and even some professional guys and college guys I see that they really want to be result driven. They want to hit the ball really far. They want to hit a home run. They want to go 4 for 4. And those are great things. But if you're doing that, and that's your main drive, you're going to be very emotional and you're going to be very inconsistent. You may not get a hit, but you could do everything right and not see the results of that. So for me, I would say hitting is more kind of like if you equate it to a test. It's about studying and preparing. So whatever they throw at you, you're going to be prepared for it. And you know what? Whatever happens, happens. But not to be too excited or too frustrated. That's the biggest thing for me. Yeah, but hittings can be very humbling. Yeah, that's I think the biggest thing that a lot of people try. I hear all the time. I was watching a video yesterday. Hi there. And this guy was teaching hitting, and I'm going, oh my gosh. I mean, everything he's saying, he was doing his best, but it was making it a lot harder for kids. And I think that's what happens a lot of times with coaches and, you know, kids is they're really result driven and they do things. A big thing that I hear is get up on the plate. Because people think if you get closer to the plate, you're going to be able to hit the outside pitch, which totally logically makes sense. But with that, what happens, and I can take you guys out there in a second, but what happens is we get closer to the plate, our bat, the barrel of the bat, we want to be over the plate. I'll take you guys out there. We're going out here. We're going on a field trip.
We're moving.
We're moving. So basically what happens is we get closer to the plate. You don't want to see my face. We'll see home plate instead. A little kid was playing with my baseballs. So basically what happens is, I'll do here. So is we get closer to the plate and I go to swing. If you're using a wood bat, that's totally going to break your bat. But your sweet spot of the bat's over the outside part of the plate, which is what we want. But our body is so smart that it actually wants to pull your bat back and get your barrel over the plate. So when that happens, our front side opens up, and we actually, as we get closer to the plate, we make the outside pitch a lot harder to hit. And we make actually everything harder to hit because we're going to end up spinning and jamming ourselves. So that's where you'll see a lot of coaches say, you know, you're pulling your head or you're doing this or that. And it's a byproduct of just getting too close to the plate. So that's a big thing that I hear all the time that, you know, they say, my coach tells me to get close to the plate. And I go, okay, well, let's go through it. And this is why we actually don't want to. So a real easy tool is if you have your bat usually in your front hand, so if you're hitting righty, it's going to be your left hand. You basically just stand there, reach your bat out so that you're barely touching the middle of the plate, and then that just kind of drops down, and that's about the right distance. So when you step into the box, you just barely be able to reach and touch the middle part of the plate. That's actually the perfect distance, because when you go to swing, your barrel's going to be over the plate.
Oh, I like how you line the baseballs up. Yeah, kind of like.
Yeah. Oh,
so,
that's okay. You're very intuitive. So here's another thing that if we look at all these baseballs, we have 6 balls that go across the plate. Now, what happens is we feel like we have to be able to hit all 6 of those. But as pitchers, a big complaint that I hear is pitchers are afraid to hit batters. So in that, we're kind of going 2 for 1 here. Pitchers are afraid to hit batters, and most batters are right-handed. So we can actually eliminate at least these 2, maybe even these 3, because pitchers want to throw outside, but batters are also afraid to get hit. So they're not going to, it's kind of a reverse. They don't want to hit the outside pitch because they're going to get far away from the plate, but the pitchers don't want to hit the batter, so they're going to throw that way. So it's kind of a reverse. So what we can do as hitters is kind of understand what pitchers like to do. So if we just want to take away, we'll just take away half the plate. Because pitchers actually are afraid to throw down the middle because they think that the batters are going to hit it. But for us as a hitter, if we, because they always say, you know, throw it outside on the outside corner, and they think it's going to be like there. And I understand the little league strike and everything. But it's one of those things where pitchers really try to be very precise. And it's hard to throw strikes. Now, we'll talk about that in a few minutes on how to throw strikes accurately. But for us as a hitter, is it easier to just focus on half the plate, or if we have to focus on the whole plate? I'd rather be able to hit these 3 balls, or maybe it's these 3. And this is just kind of understanding your strengths as a hitter. Maybe you like the ball a little more down the middle to outside, and then maybe they get 1 strike. As soon as pitchers get a strike, the next pitch, they're probably going to throw it more outside. So it's just kind of understanding what pitchers are trying to do, and then we can adapt our game. But honestly, you have these 6 balls, and ask your kids or coaches, ask your players and say, which 3 do you feel like you can hit the best? And maybe they say, I don't know, those 3 or whatever it is, and help them. And what you guys can do is in soft toss and practice, throw the pitches and make them recognize if it crosses here or if it doesn't. And so they can understand, even though it may be a strike, is it the strike that we want to hit? Is a high percentage strike for us that we're capable of? Or another good drill to do is you can have this, you know, you're sitting there flipping the ball to your players, and you can say, okay, this is, if you're a righty, this is ball 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I know Jonathan and Miles do this really well, but you can just have them say, okay, the ball crossed ball number 4. So it'll be that one. And so it just teaches kids on, you know, plate recognition of where the pitch is, and teaches them, okay, is that a pitch that I would like to hit? Or is it a pitch that I have to hit with 2 strikes? So, because I mean, if we have no strikes or 1 strike, we don't want to have to be swinging at these just because it's a strike if we don't have to. We'd rather look and be able to recognize. It's kind of like when the kids play video games. If they play the same level over and over, they know what to expect. So for us, if we, you know, if they're playing, I don't know, nobody ever invites me to play Fortnite, so I've never played. So, but if we know that there's going to be an obstacle over here and we can recognize it, that's a pitch that we can instantly recognize. We've played that level over and over, so we react quicker to it. Versus if we're just up there reacting, it's not going to work. It's just going to be kind of playing like rock, paper, scissors. So those are kind of the big things, is getting close to the plate can kind of screw us up. And then also not recognizing which strikes that we like to hit. But just, you know, if you have 6 balls, say we'll do 3 or 4. And then as you get 1 strike, maybe add another ball, and then another ball. And then obviously with 2 strikes, we have to protect them. So if that makes sense.
You just pop the ball, right? And have the kid call the ball, right? One or two.
Correct.
Right.
So you're here as a
Oh,
coach.
you trade
and
it. Yeah. This is a nice drill just for the parents. All you need is like 7 baseballs, it looks like.
Yes, and what you can do is you can do 7. I mean, honestly, you can be in the house and throw socks.
Oh, good.
Make them do laundry and throw socks to them and have them track it. You can, or you can put cups. You can basically put anything that you want and just say, okay, which one did it track and cross? So you can just pick them. They can be like 3, 4, 4, 5. But this is a really good drill that you can do inside. You can do it by yourself if you're throwing against the wall, whatever it is. It's just watching the ball. And another thing I hear, like I said earlier, is them saying, watch the ball hit the bat. But if you're too close to the plate, the first movement is we're going to spin. And so I'll do it this way. So if we're here. If the ball's inside, the first movement, or wherever it is, the first movement is my head is going to go this way to open up. And there's no way that I can watch it. I'm always going to set myself up for failure. But if I'm a little bit further away, I don't feel like I'm going to get jammed. And so as the pitch comes in, I'm going to be able to watch it and track it all the way in because my front side is not going to be strong. So that's a good, here's another good point. I hear like throw the knob at the ball or, a lot of times people have the Mike Trout or Cody Bellinger swing where they put their elbow up. And I was guilty of this too. When I was younger, I watched my favorite players and I wanted to emulate their swings. But understanding if your elbow's up, the first thing you have to do when you swing is bring your elbow down. And by doing your elbow up, you're going to also encourage your hips to spin. So that'll be kind of a double negative to make it even harder. So easy way to figure that out, even if you want your elbow up, all you do is if you hit right-handed, your right hand is stronger, your top hand. And if you hit left-handed, your left hand is stronger. Because if your left hand or if your bottom hand is stronger, it's going to pull you down the line. Versus if your top hand is stronger, you're going to be able to stay straight. That's a real easy little trick that you can do. So just keep your top hand stronger. I'm trying to think of what else for hitting. Does anybody have any questions for hitting?
And Northwood families, feel free to enter in the chat box or use the raise hand option if you have a question about hitting with Coach Bryan.
So, and then another thing is a lot of times when kids go up there to hit, they just they go up there and they just want to swing. For us, it's almost like if we're playing mini golf or, whatever you're playing, you want to make sure that you have a area that you want to focus on hitting the ball. So really quickly, super easy way is if you're right-handed, I'm left-handed, so I'll just talk backwards. But basically, if I want to hit the ball to left field, all I'm going to do is just make contact by my left foot. If I want to hit the ball up the middle, if it's a little more down the middle, I'm going to hit it in the middle of my body. And then if it's outside, I'm going to allow the ball to get deeper and hit it off my back or my right foot. And then the opposite's true. Left-hander, you want to hit the right field, it's off your right foot. And then left field to your left foot. But when you're hitting, for me, when I was hitting, I wanted to keep the ball. So it was between, this is actually a good field for it, but between where the second baseman would play, so kind of where those trees are, and then between where the shortstop was playing, so kind of where those trees are over there. So if I was a little bit early, I'd still hit it a little more down the line, but have a lot of room to work with. And then if I was a little late, I'd be fine. But a lot of times people think, okay, I'm going to pull a ball, and they think I'm going to hit it right down the line. And that doesn't give us a lot of room to work with. So for us, just trying to hit it where that nice clear sky is up the middle, or just aim at the pitcher. That's a real easy way because there's always going to be a pitcher. So just try to hit it up the middle, like if you're playing pepper or something. And that's a really easy way to just kind of fix your swing path without really thinking about it.
Sounds good. Coach Bryan, we have a question from one of our Northwood parents.
Away. Awesome. Coach, absolutely.
The question is, what are younger kids? Are there any good drills, Coach Bryan, that you could recommend good bat speed through the plate? As you see many kids decelerating through the plate. partly is it because out of response of being afraid of making contact and bat stinging?
That's a great question. Yes, they go hand in hand. So what I was mentioning earlier with if our bottom hand is stronger or if we're too close to the plate, we end up spinning and rotating our hips. So we kind of turn into a helicopter. So we kind of pull our bat over where it's supposed to be. And that's where we'll actually be either hitting the ball. So as I'm swinging, I'm either going to be early and my bat's going to be late like this, or I'm going to be late. So I'm kind of making this motion right here like a helicopter. And so that's where we sting our bat in our hands, where we're either going to be off the handle or off the end. It's not on the sweet spot. So with that, that is really where kids get apprehensive. And then they, their hands sting, and then they're more tentative to take a good swing or an aggressive swing because it's not fun at all to sting your hands. I've done it many times.
Oh, yeah.
But coaches just, the biggest thing that I like to say is people are always really good at saying, don't pull your head or don't drop your barrel or do this or that. And or the best I hear is coaches yell at the pitcher, throw a strike. And I'm going, of course we want to throw a strike. Or, get a hit or something. Of course we want to do those things. But they never give us the formula, keep your head in there. And it's going, I want to. But what is the cause and effect of why are those things happening? Or how do we fix it? Like your math teacher. You keep getting the answer wrong, but they don't give you where the formula or the equation's breaking down. We're never going to be able to be mastering that. So for us, with our hand stinging, it's a result of kind of that bottom hand being stronger, being too close to the plate, or a lot of times just that elbow up. And then that actually slows down our bat speed because we have to spin and then we get really slow. So to answer that question on the other part about bat speed, basically the straighter we go, the faster we go. If the kids are driving like bumper cars or something, if they're going around a turn, they have to slow. They probably won't, but we would slow down because you can't go fast around a turn. So that's kind of our bat speed is if we spin, we go slower. So if we go straighter, we go faster. So drills to do with that, a really good one to do. Coming back out to the field.
I like drills. Yeah.
Drills are great. Now, again, I've heard all these things growing up, and then my dad apologized and said, I'm so sorry. I said, I hear it all to today. So it's one of those things where it's just been passed along generation to generation, and it actually is real easily fixable. So a real simple thing to do for bat speed is when the kids step, you'll see a lot of times they step and their front foot opens up. Now the front foot opens up because our bottom hand is stronger or we're too close to the plate. If our foot opens up, it's because my hip is opening up. So a real easy thing to do is just working on, a lot of times what I'll tell kids is I want to give them a simple thing to remember. So I'm going to give them ready, aim, fire. I'm going to have my top hand strong and ready to go. So I'm like talking on the phone here.
So tight
I'm
grip.
ready. The top hand is a little bit tighter just because that's not going to allow me.
A little bit tighter.
A little bit tighter. Not like it's mean you want to choke me or anything, but just a little bit tighter. And so my right hand is ready to go. I'm ready to go. Now, after we do ready, we do aim. So what we're going to do is our right hand's ready like we're talking on speakerphone. And then from here, I'm going to aim. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to step and then swing. Because what happens is the closer my step and my swing are, the more this is going to happen. But if I can separate those things and just go step, then start my swing, that's going to make us go straighter and increase our bat speed. So honestly, bat speed enhancement or increasing that is just by kind of having, I guess, the right mechanics. And then it goes into using your legs versus your upper body. But that's also when we spin, it's because my hips are part of my upper body. So that's going to cause that spin. If I don't do that, I'm going to use my legs. So it's just how do we use our legs? Top hand stronger, and that'll help us step nice and square. So I always tell kids, pretend like, and I'm wearing my Ultra Boost today. So pretend like Adidas is going to give me, I don't know, a Butterfingers or whatever. Every time I can see, the whole outside of my shoe when I step. If I step here, they won't give me any candy. So for me, when I step, I just want to step like this. So everything is nice and square. Everything is nice and straight. I don't want to step like this because that's going to slow my bat speed down. Another thing is I get a lot of complaints early on. I remember 3 kids yesterday who did this. Is they were saying, you know, these big kids come in and they go, I want to hit a home run. I'm like, I know. And so I tell them, I want just that. I said, hold your right hand a little bit stronger. And then all I want you to do is just step and then swing. And they go, okay. And then they get up there and try to swing out of their shoes and crush it. And what happens is they actually end up tensing up a lot more and they're slower. So to increase your bat speed, but also increase power, all you really have to do is, you know, I tell kids to relax. You don't, if you're doing it right, it shouldn't feel like you're having to put in a lot of energy. So as they're swinging, really honestly, it sounds boring, but just hit nice, easy little line drives or ground balls in that little area that we were talking about with that gap between the trees, between short and second. And if we do that, your bat path is going to go straighter, your bat speed will increase, and then you're going to hit the ball further. But kids go, but I'm not trying to kill it. And I go, I know that's good, because when we swing and we tense up and we feel all of that stuff, we're actually feeling resistance. I tell kids, it's almost like when they're driving in a car and mom or dad turns off the interstate and then they kind of go and they feel their body go that way. That's what's happening. Our body wants to go straight. And then as we start trying to kill it, that hip opens up and then we start veering down the line. So that's going to decrease our bat speed, but also our power. So a real good drill to do is just when the kids are hitting, all they're going to do is just, they'll hate you at first. I promise you they will. They always hate me. But basically make them over exaggerate. So they're ready. I want you to make them step and then swing. So really they're going to not really know how to swing at that point, because it's going to be, they're so used to spinning their head. So all you do is you exaggerate and over exaggerate their step and then their swing. Actually, it was funny. My brother sent this to me yesterday. It was talking about Christian Yelich was early on in his, great player. My Brewers. And he was talking about when he was with Miami, and he was talking about how he was in a slump. And, that's another good point. But he was having really a hard time finding his swing. And Barry Bonds was their hitting coach. And he said he took him into the cage and he spread him out. So it's what's called a no stride drill. And this is another way that you can do what we were just talking about to help them kind of get a feel for things, but also increase your bat speed. But basically you're here, and instead of striding, which is just the step with your front foot, what you do is you step and then you stay there. So you're in this position. So it forces you to use your backside. And if you notice, my front hip can't move. If I'm here and I step, I can open up and spin. But what you do is, he said that Barry really spread his feet out wide, and he was talking about really utilizing his legs, because if you're wider, you're not going to be able to twist. So that's a good drill to do, where you can go kind of reverse that, where you start with no stride, and then you slowly bring your foot in closer and closer until it's more of a game-like swing. But just the separation of your step and then your swing really makes a big difference in bat speed, and then power as well.
Sounds good. And we're about to wrap up batting. I had a question. I hear this a lot as a little league coach. Like I say, all right, guys, it's time for tee to warm up, and you hear the groans like, "Oh, that's for like 5-year-olds." I already did tee ball. Now, as a professional baseball player, how important is tee in our drills and our just our preparation for the game?
Tees are really good things to use, because it can really show us what we're doing well or what we need to work on. A big thing that I see that happens with tee work is, I'll see if I can prop this up here. Basically, when guys are hitting, again, that video I saw yesterday, this guy was doing it totally wrong. And I see this, and I did it myself. But I'll be standing here, and the kids will have the tee way out in front of them. So as they swing, they're hitting it way out in front. But what happens is, the further out in front it is, it's a good drill to do, but you have to do it knowing how to do it. Because basically what'll happen is if the tee is way out in front of me, it's going to encourage my hip to spin so I can go out there and hit it. And that's where we either hit underneath the tee, we chop on top of it, and then we all get very frustrated. So what I was talking about our contact points is this is a really good way to work on it. But honestly, if you start with the tee, have it starting right off your front foot. So when you step, it's actually going to be in the middle of my body. And that's where we can work on that good solid contact with the pitch down the middle. And then we can also work back where it's off our back leg, and I can hit it off my back foot and then in the front. But the tee is really good because it just kind of helps get our swing going and focus on contact. For us, we don't want to hit it. Oh, here's my name on it. But basically, like where my name is to like here, this is a sweet spot. And with the tee, it really helps us be able to, and another good drill is we can sit there and we're ready, and then aim. And then I just can check and make sure my foot's in a good square position. And then I can go ready, aim, and then come in and make sure that I'm nice and square. And just double check to make sure nothing's flying open. It can also help us work on keeping our top hand strong. And then from there, you just work on it. I know kids hate this, but it really helps. So you just go, you're ready, aim. Then you go ready, aim, fire. And that's just kind of training them over and over to do like their little cheat code in the same sequence over and over, so that when they get into practice or in a game, it really can help. But tee is really important, and all of us did tee work. We would go into the tunnel and the cages before hitting, or before practice, and we'd all go in there and just.
U.S. national team and professional teams tee was always part.
Absolutely.
Wow, that's good to hear.
Absolutely. It's really important, and it's a really good tool. I mean, plus you don't need anybody else. I mean, I'm here by myself and I have my baseballs. I can go get my work in. But it's really a good tool to use so we can practice these things that we know, like we were just talking about. And it's a really easy way to do it slow. Do everything slow at first. And then once you get comfortable, then we build it up. Otherwise, we do it so fast, and then they look at us as a coach, Arnis, and they go, how was that? I go, well, how did it feel? And they go, I don't know. So it's one of those things. I want kids to be able to feel what they're doing and understand it instead of just swinging. I don't want you to just answer a question. I want you to understand the question so that our answer has meaning behind it. But tees, totally. I didn't appreciate it as a kid either. I really didn't, until I got older. And then really understood. And then I said, oh man, I wish I knew this back then. So I'm coming from the future saying, do tee work, I promise.
Awesome. Before we go into pitching, we did have a parent, a family question about tee. And
Absolutely.
Coach Bryan, this Northwood family asked, when my son is hitting off the tee, he can swing straight to the ball. But while I swing to a pitch, the barrel usually drops and makes a big circle like a golf swing. How can we improve that, Coach Bryan, and keep it consistent?
Excellent question. That is a beautiful, beautiful question. So, like I was going through earlier, a lot of times coaches will say, you're dropping your hands. I like to say it kind of makes like a Nike sign where you're here. And what'll happen is the earlier that bottom hand takes over, for me, it's my right hand. For most kids, it's going to be their left hand. I'll talk left or righty. Most kids do that. But basically, as soon as the bottom hand takes over, like they were mentioning, the bat head starts to flatten out and then ends up, gravity takes it over here. So what happens is the left side, if I cut them in half, the left side towards the pitcher, is it for a righty or whichever side's facing the pitcher, we want that side to be the least dominant or strong. Because what'll happen is as soon as that left side takes over, it starts pulling and spinning. And that's like we talked about earlier, either being too close, elbow up, or just honestly, a lot of people say the bottom hand is stronger. So one of those three things is, or maybe they all kind of work together. But basically the front side spins open, the bottom hand takes over, the bat drops like this, and then we end up going and making that motion that was described. So a lot of times kids will freak out and they say, well, I need to figure out what's wrong. And I go, okay, just keep your top hand stronger, and that'll keep the bottom hand from taking over as much. So that'll start fixing that spin. We'll go later and later until eventually we'll have that right hand really strong and the barrel will be up. As soon as the left hand starts taking over, it starts dropping. Or we talked about the step and swing. If you step, then swing, I can't, as much as I want to, I can't drop my bat because it's either, the Darth Vader or the Luke Skywalker. It's either the bottom hand that's going to take you down or the top hand that's going to keep you up. So just doing little things like that will really help prevent that motion. Because when you do this, you'll see that the front hip always opens up. So it's just kind of piecing the puzzles together. So, okay, if I step square with my foot, I can't spin, so I can't drop my hands. And then the left hand can't take over. So for us, they all do the same thing. So honestly, just pick one thing. I always like to start at the foundation. So for us, like we said, if I step square with my foot instead of opening up, that will solve everything from the bottom up. A lot of times people get so, I got to do this and this and this. And I go, just start at the foundation. If your foundation is strong, everything else after that will be totally fine. So so just honestly, when you step, don't step with your foot open, step nice and square. And that's a really good place to start. And then once you get that down, then we say, okay, let's keep that top hand a little bit stronger. And then from there, then we're doing two things that are going to set us up for success. And then we kind of add on things from there. So I hope that answers that. Please let me know if it doesn't.
And parents, we'll have a Q&A at the end of this. So we're almost halfway done, almost halfway there.
We're doing great.
Yeah, we're doing great. So and Coach Bryan will be here. So let's go to our next final part of this clinic. Pitching. I mean, Coach Bryan, you were a catcher by trade, right? Drafted as a catcher.
Yes.
So you dealt with a lot of pitchers, right? That's part of your job. You tell our young pitchers and over here and our coaches. We have some coaches here.
Yes.
Like especially with grips, and I'm guilty myself. I remember when I first started coaching, I always told the kids, "Hey, just throw strikes." But
yes.
And of course the kid knows that. So,
of course, that's great advice. I love it.
Our young pitchers.
Can you hear me okay?
Oh yeah, loud and clear.
Okay, cool. Sorry, I paused for a second. Yes, pitching. And a lot of times, I know that we've talked about this at length, but I want to give things that can equate to both pitching and hitting. So the ready, aim, fire for hitting. We talked about, and honestly, you'll hear coaches in the third base, coaching box or in the dugout, yelling instructions to kids as they're hitting. The kids are nervous as it is. So for us, I want to give them things that they'll remember that'll help. It's kind of like a life preserver. When you get nervous, first take a really nice deep breath. And if it doesn't work, take another one. I had to do that a lot. But we talked about ready, aim, fire. The right hand's ready. They step with their foot and then they swing. For pitching, it's really similar. All we do is we get the ball up. Once the ball's up and ready to go, then we do the same step with our foot, and then we throw from there. Because we talked about hitting. If my hand's up and strong, that's going to help me step straight, and then I'm going to go straight. Same goes for pitching. But yes, pitching. They really, like you were saying, throw a strike and do this and do that. Honestly, for us, I remember, like I said, I've been very guilty of this. So I'll get down like a catcher. But basically, pitchers love to throw on the corners. They love to look good. They love to, hit the black and everything like that. For us, you can do the, throw to, maybe those three or whatever. So if you miss a little bit, you're still going to be in the heart of the plate. For us, a lot of times I would give a sign here And if I shifted over and I set a fastball outside, I would shift maybe that much. So the pitcher is still seeing a lot of the plate, because if I'm a catcher and I catch this ball right here, if he hits it and it's perfectly right there, but the umpire's looking over my shoulder, that's over the plate, but half of my body's outside the plate. So for him, it looks like it's a ball. But what was I going to say for pitching? Yes, for pitching, I was drafted as a catcher, and I used to be a pitcher. My pitching coach actually told me to be a catcher, believe it or not.
Wow.
Because I remember very vividly, it's where we had spring training in Tucson for the Rockies, and I was in 7th grade for this one, and I was throwing a bullpen. I threw really hard, and I was a good pitcher, and I threw a beautiful pitch, and he looks at me and he goes, "You need to catch." And I'm like, "Are you out of your mind? Did you just see what I did?" And he goes, "Yes, I did. Be a catcher." And I said, "Why?" And so at that point, he said, "You're a left-handed hitter. You have good power. You throw hard." He said, "Once you're a pitcher, you're always a pitcher." And this guy was a pitcher in the pros, and he's a professional pitching coach. And he said, "Trust me, be a catcher. You understand pitching. You're really good at it. So you can help all the pitchers." Because that's a big thing that people, when they meet me, they go, "My son needs pitching lessons." And I go, "Yeah, I can help him." And they go, "But you're a catcher." And I go, like you said, I took care of pitchers. I made them look really good. And when they did bad, I got screamed at. But when they did really good, they got pat on the back. And they knew, we worked together. But it's a thankless job. But it was really fun because I saw a kid yesterday I haven't seen in like a year because they went out of town. And he's going into high school. And he said, "I want to throw strikes. I want to pitch, but I can't throw straight." I said, "We'll fix you." 2 minutes later, he's throwing straight. And he's like, "How'd you do that?" And I said, "Trust me, I've done this." I wanted to make pitchers really good to make my job easier. So, so that's the biggest thing is for pitchers, listen to your catchers if they know what they're doing. Not that I do by any means, but yes, for pitching, honestly, those 3 balls right there are where you want to throw pitches. The best thing that I can give pitchers advice for is let the hitters get themselves out. If you guys are, doing practice and you guys are doing like, batting and then pitching, and, the coaches are throwing batting practice, they're trying to throw these 3 pitches. The hitters know that the ball is coming down the middle. And even then, does anybody go 10 for 10 with 10 home runs during batting practice? No, they pop them up, they ground them out, they swing and foul them off, they roll them over. So these pitches, you want to pitch to contact. Everybody likes to strike guys out. And you know what? It's nice. But that also, for me, means that you're throwing more pitches. For us, we kind of had a rule. I wanted to throw 3 pitches or less to each hitter. The reason being is if you're going to throw, if you get a guy 3 and 2, that's 5 pitches. You have to throw a 6th one. Maybe he fouls it off. So we'll just say each guy gets 6 pitches. If you get 3 outs on, if you go 1, 2, 3, but you've thrown 6 pitches, you have 18 pitches in 1 inning. And I know you guys have pitch counts.
Oh, yeah.
So if you do that, you're at 36 pitches after 2 innings, and you got, nobody got on base, but you've working really, really hard. So for us, pitch to contact. That's why you have all those guys out there in the field wanting to help you. So give them an opportunity to get them out. But yeah, pitchers a lot of times want to strike people out, and it's fun. But you're doing a lot more work than you need to. It's almost like when the teacher says, "Okay, you have math, you have to do the odds." And the kids are like, "Oh, I don't want to do that." It's like, "Do you want to do the evens and the odds?" They're like, No, we're cool. We're just going to do the odd ones. But, it's almost like we want to do more work to strike guys out. We want to go 3 and 2 and, they get a strike on a guy. Once you get a strike, don't throw a ball. Coaches are notorious for this too. You get a strike, and then the next pitch they throw is like, it's that waste pitch. "Oh, good job," whatever it is. Everybody knows that the next pitch after you get a strike is going out here. It's going to be somewhere in here. They're afraid for the guy to hit it. It's almost like a knock on them if they throw another strike and the guy hits it. But, if you watch pitchers in the pros, they want people to hit the ball. So it's one of those things of being confident in yourself, but also in your fielders. A big thing that happens, I see a lot, is when kids throw, they throw and they have the ball down here, kind of by their pocket. So what happens is this is a big thing that if you watch any kid throw, I guarantee if you guys go out to practice this week, you'll see everybody throwing with the ball super low. And if you watch the next move, is their front side opens up to kind of have to catapult their arm up. But then at that point, their arm goes out. They throw like they're carrying my pizza that I ordered, and then the ball goes crazy. So that's kind of when, you know, if they're throwing fastballs, changeups, I don't really like curveballs, honestly. They're easy to pick up and they're hard to throw. But if you're throwing a curveball and it just doesn't move, it stays very flat, that's where we get in trouble. Is because if I like to think of it for kids as like an airplane. If the ball's low on the runway, when we go to throw, it's going to take off and go high. So if the ball's high, if it's up in the air already, I'm going to be able to throw it and it's going to be a lot more controlled. So that's a really easy thing to do, is you'll see when kids are throwing. And, you know, parents, I was playing catch with my dad the other day, and my gosh, he did this and he was trying to fix it. And yeah, we went through a bunch of baseballs. And he was embarrassed. He's like, I know how to throw. And I'm like, we'll work on it. But basically, just get the ball up before we go forward. You can, and honestly, if you guys have the ball down by your pocket and then you bring the ball up, you're fighting against gravity. So it's going to be really hard to get the ball nice and up high. You know, a lot of times, a big thing I hear is they go, well, this guy does it. And I go, yeah, I remember getting into the pros as an 18-year-old and I'm going, their mechanics are really bad. They just know how to do it. So just because your favorite player does it doesn't mean that it's actually right. This is more of kind of the biomechanics behind our throwing and how to set us up first. Oh, I remember I was 18. It was my first off season. And I was working out with all these guys, all these future Hall of Famers. And I was talking to these pitchers. And I said, how did you guys become so successful? And we were sitting there getting stretched. And I remember this very vividly. We were on the training tables and they said, we figured out the simplest form of what gets us our results every time. And then all we do is think about that. For hitting or pitching, kids get up there and they get nervous. Maybe there's a good hitter. Maybe there's a lot of people at the game. Maybe it's a pressure situation. Their space is loaded, whatever it is. And if they're hitting or throwing, they start getting nervous of, oh my goodness, I need to get a hit. Or, oh my gosh, I can't walk this guy. I don't want to hit him. I have to strike him out. And so they start thinking about all the external factors. They start thinking about all the things that could go wrong. But if we just remember, you know, ready, aim, fire. We're ready. And then from here, all we have to do is just take that nice, easy step with our foot square. If I go straight back, I'm going to go straight forward and I'm going to throw the ball straight. Or if I go straight back and then step like we talked about with our hitting, my bat's going to go straight. So it's actually taken a lot of the guesswork out of it. But a lot of times we think about everything but what we need to be doing. And a lot of times people don't know what they need to be doing at that, you know, like we talked about today. Just the top hand strong, and then that'll help our front foot stay square. And that carries over to hitting and throwing. But yeah, pitching, don't be afraid to throw strikes. It's important. I'm trying to think what else. But yeah, just remember, ready, aim, fire. So when you're in there, you don't think about the nerves. This helps you kind of calm down, because I remember playing in front of a lot of people and I got really nervous at first. And I thought, what am I doing? I don't like this. And the biggest piece of advice they said is, you know what, just remember kind of remember the formula. Don't worry about the whole test. What's the formula that you need to use? And then from there, it helps you keep focused on the task at hand. And that'll help you be consistent. So for the kids, ready, aim, fire, or some other, and that's just something, you know, you tell them that and it cues them. It's not, you know, elbow up, foot there, do this, your balance, your knees, this and that. If you just, you know, keep the top hand stronger, that'll help you step straighter, and that'll either help the ball go straighter or that'll help your back go straighter. Now, a real easy thing, and you'll see this a lot, is when kids are, I see this all the time. But what happens is when kids are throwing, they're on the mound, they're doing this, The first move, and I know it's a new age thing, but they step sideways. And then they step here.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, this is sun. So they go to the left, they go sideways, and then their foot actually moves, and then it actually ends up being a little further to the left. So if we think about this, if I'm looking here, I go left, right, and then I go up, down, do my feet. So I go left, and then I go right. So I got to come back, then I come up, then I come down, and then I go forward. So that's 5 different directions that we're going.
That's a lot.
And I mean, if I'm right here and if I'm looking at the balls, if you guys just try this, if you go to the left, you'll see the camera moves. So if if you guys are playing whatever game and, you're trying to shoot the guy over here, but then your scope moves, then we're offline. Then I got to try to come back and realign it, but then I got to come up and then I got to come down. And so everything's moving this way now. So we move left, we move right, we go up, we go down. So then we have to throw it. And by that point, there's so many moving parts that we get a lot of inconsistency. A real easy thing that I was told and pitchers do is instead of having your feet straight like your skis facing right down the mound, what we do is we angle our feet a little bit so they're facing more towards like the third base on deck circle, or if you're a lefty, the first base one. So basically, instead of stepping to the left or right, all we do is just kind of go just straight back a little bit. Not much. A lot of times kids will go way back here and then they're off balance. So just a nice, easy step. And that foot with our foot already angled, it's much easier than making a real sharp 90-degree turn. It's a lot easier. And we've done some of the work ahead of time. So all we're doing is we're going straight back so I can start going straight forward. So that's still keeping my alignment nice and straight. And we've taken away 3 different movements. So it's just easier to throw the ball straight.
That's good. And then, Coach Bryan, we had a question from a Northwood parent.
Yes, absolutely.
Coach Bryan, are there any good pitching drills to work on smoothing out the mechanics? Kids just want to throw hard, which throws off their sequence.
Yes, absolutely. That's a great, oh my gosh, if I had a penny for every time I heard that from kids, I would be so happy.
Throw the heat.
But no. Oh yeah, absolutely. So just like that's an excellent question. So a lot of times, like we talked about with hitting, we want to feel power. But if we're feeling nice, smooth, like they were saying, don't make it so choppy and muscly. We want to be nice and smooth. So how do we do that? The ball being down by our pocket will help us spin, and then it just doesn't look really good. It's a forced, really violent throw. So honestly, just kind of, here's for pitching, you can do 1, 2, 3. You bring your one leg up. Once you bring your one leg up, you break your 2 hands, and that'll kind of get your hand into that ready position. So when kids are pitching, just have them go, they bring their one leg up, they break their hands. So because you're bringing so you have your one leg, so you go 1. And then once you do 1, you have 2 hands. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna break our 2 hands together. And I'll do it in here so you guys can see. I know it's a real close up that you guys probably don't like. So go over here. So this is a really easy, kind of like our ready, aim, fire for our hitting. It's the same thing basically. So we're here. So they're here. So they bring their one leg up, they break their 2 hands, and then they're gonna push with that back leg. And another thing that I heard growing up, and I still hear it to this day, is coaches talk about pulling or tucking that glove. But if you feel and see where your body goes when you tuck your glove, you're pulling, so you're opening up and your body's actually kind of going backwards. And then that's gonna spin and open up our hips and everything. So as we're throwing, just 1, 2, and then pushing. And what you guys can do is make the kids balance on that back leg as they're here, and then break their hands. And then from here, the muscles on their back leg, their thighs and their glutes or their butt are gonna be contracted. So they're gonna be burning a little bit. So this is a good way to help get them stronger, but also help them if they're burning on their back leg, they're going to want to push to kind of relieve that. They're not just going to stand up because that's more work. So it's a really good way to train them on how to do things. It's just 1, 2, and that hands up in that ready position. Or if we're talking about hitting, it's the same exact thing. So I break my hands here and then step. So if I have this, my hands in this position or my hands in this position, it's the same exact thing. So we're ready, aim, fire, or I'm ready, aiming, and then firing. So it's the same exact thing. So my step or my step should look very identical. And that will help just kind of that sequence, the 1, 2, and then 3, that'll help clean up that kind of choppiness or just kind of that not so beautiful type of mechanics. Because a lot of times you'll see them, they'll drop down, and then they'll spin and do all this stuff. And that's where we get inconsistencies. Also arm issues a lot. That's a big thing to help prevent that too. So yes, I hope that answered that one.
And then we are about to wrap up the meeting. So we're going to open up for Q&A, so question and answers. So
you guys ask away.
Families, feel free to chat in your question, or if you want to raise your hand on the Zoom option. I'll start off with a question, Coach Bryan. I always like to ask our guests, and our coaches, because I love this game. I played Little League too. I still remember my first hit. So Coach Bryan, what is the most happiest moment you had like growing up in baseball? Yeah.
That's a great question. Happiest moment. It was that's a really good one. The game has been so good to me. It's honestly like I said, it's come full circle for me because I've had amazing coaches, amazing experiences traveling all around the country and the world for baseball, and it's been incredible. Funny enough, everybody says, what is your favorite thing? And I honestly have to say, it's a weird answer, but for me, I was in these guys' shoes. And then, I had people do this to help me. And then I went and played. And then I was coaching. And now I'm kind of coming, I started here. I went all the way around. Now I'm kind of back here as the old grandfather type thing that people say. Because they're like, oh, you have white hair in your beard. And I'm like, thanks, son. Yeah, I feel old. But for me, I think the happiest thing that I've gotten out of baseball is being able to share all that I've gotten to learn. And, when kids send me a video and they're like, I, had a really good game at the plate, or I felt really good, or just, when we're doing stuff out here and I see that, it clicks and then they start, kind of taking ownership and kind of passing that torch on. I think for me, that was probably the coolest thing. But if it was for me, I would say probably playing for the Olympic team was really cool. And, being able to go represent your country professionally was really cool. But there was just something really, really special about that. We got a bronze medal, so I have that at the house. But that was a really, I think, memorable thing. That was a very, very, humbling experience. So I'd say that probably. But I like the kids more, so that's even cooler.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then, did you ever have a moment where you failed, like in the game, but looking back, what did that teach you?
That's a great question.
Two-part question.
Absolutely, yes. More. I mean, gosh, I'm trying to think of. I have a lot of moments where, and it's funny because you, as a kid and as growing up, even high school or college, they say, "Did you fail?" And for me, as I grew in my career, I understood that I looked at it differently. I looked at it, instead of failing, as kind of doing a self-check of, okay, what do I need to adjust? Not even fix. What am I doing that's straying away from my, ready, aim, fire? Or what, and not having to worry about the issue, but kind of going back to just my formula, going back to that buoy of, okay, this is what works, and I'm just going to kind of go back to that. That's how you actually get out of a slump, is don't worry about all the things that are going wrong. Just go back to the basics and what do we do that helps us? But yes, I remember there was a time we were playing the Giants. I may have shared this with you years ago, but we were playing the Giants and I was catching that day, and I was 0 for 1 with the strikeout, and then 0 for 2, and then 0 for 3. I didn't even touch the ball, and I was swinging.
Wow.
And by the third at bat, the fourth at bat, I was so frustrated. And I made the mistake of, I was doing everything that I just told you guys not to do. I was swinging hard. I was opening my hips, my elbows, my top hand was not strong. And it just got worse and worse and worse. And I was hoping they'd pinch hit for me in the fourth at bat. They didn't. Fifth at bat comes along, and we were actually on the road, which made it even worse because everybody knew and they want you to fail, and they let you know about it. So I'm standing there on deck, and I didn't even touch my bat. I said, I don't know why I need this stupid thing. I haven't touched a ball all day. I took, so I'd taken 12 swings at that point. I don't think I even hit air at that point. And I got 0-2, and in my head, I was so defeated. I was completely, like I said, focused on everything but what I should have. And I learned a lot from that. And I actually ended up, because I was spinning, I got jammed. I hit the ball probably right here off my label. My bat shattered. The bat went further than the ball did.
Wow.
But I made contact. And I think it went like 3 feet in front of the plate. And they threw me out. But I was so happy that I made contact. But then I got into the clubhouse after, and I was like, why am I so frustrated and angry? And one of the vets came up and they just said, what were you thinking about while you were hitting? And I said, well, I was frustrated and this and that. And they said, you were distracting yourself from what you needed to do. What were you thinking of? Were you thinking about hitting the ball, or were you setting yourself up for failure of bringing up, well, you struck out, you're not hitting it. Today's not your day. And they said, you basically talked yourself into failing. And they said, you know what? Always learn from it. Take something positive. Even if we miss a ground ball, we say, okay, well, I stayed in front of it. I fielded it a little deeper. So I stood up a little bit, or, something. There's always something positive that we can take from things. It's just what we choose to focus on. Don't think about, if we strike out, don't think, oh my gosh, I struck out. You can say, okay, well, I saw his fastball and maybe I saw like a changeup or whatever. So I've seen different pitches. So next time I'm aware of what I need to be doing. So it was a very humbling moment to answer the question of I made the same mistake. I was getting paid to play and I was acting like a 3-year-old, honestly. I was so frustrated and upset, and it humbled me to just stay humble and stay focused on first being positive, but also staying within, like the kids, if I'm playing video games and these guys are masters and, they're doing like a cheat code and they just do this and they unlock all these things. For me, I'm literally pressing buttons, hoping something will happen. And that's kind of what I was doing that day. I wasn't focused on, okay, L2, triangle, square. That's probably still wrong. But so it's just, don't worry about the results. Stay with the process. And if it doesn't work that time, stay with the process, because over time it works. But yeah, don't get emotional, I guess, was yeah, it was humbling. I remember it very vividly. So yes.
No, I like that tip. Stick with the process. Don't worry on the outcome.
Yeah, because otherwise, everybody, you got a hit or you didn't do this. You can, get on base so many different ways, or you can go and hit the ball beautifully and the other team makes a good play. It doesn't reflect on you on how you did based on the results. It's basically, somebody will come in and they'll say, I said, how did it feel? How did you feel? Were you confident? Yeah, I felt good. I saw the ball well. I'm like, that's great. That's a really successful at bat. Instead of, kids will call me and they'll say, I had a game today, and I don't go, how did you do? I said, how do you feel? What did you do well? And kind of always start positively and take away the good stuff. And then we can look at the other stuff. And it's not nearly as impactful, I guess. Instead of being a perfectionist, well, I didn't do this. And I'm going, well, you went 4 for 4. Well, I didn't do this. And it's like, who cares? You're fine. So, but yeah, the biggest thing I learned, have fun. That's the funniest thing is I see, I like to try to be inconspicuous and, one kid I taught him for 4 years before he didn't even know I played baseball. And he was like, I was wearing a Brewer shirt or something. He goes, how'd you get that? And I was like, the team gave it to me. But, and his dad was so intense and crazy. And, the coaches get so involved in it. And I go, are you having fun? And, you have these coaches and the kids and the players, they're so intense. And there's nothing wrong with being competitive. But if you're having fun, you play relaxed and you don't make those silly mistakes. If you're playing tense and hesitant, because I had a coach in high school that was horribly, he was a terrible yeller and he ruled with fear, and it was about results and stuff. And everybody was, and absolutely, we all have had those, and it's not a fun environment. We're always holding something back, and we don't tap into our full ability. It's more of just, I want to play it safe. I just want to pass. I don't want to, take a chance to go do something extra. So have fun. And if you're not, give a big smile. It kind of relaxes you. But what else do we got? I love these questions.
We have one of our final questions. Last call, Northwood parents. One parent asked, I know it's been already gone through this already, but please recap the role of the bottom and top hand while swinging. Very
Amazing.
Good question. My kid is going to high school, and that's part of his regimen.
Absolutely. And I mean, honestly, I say this, I think I say it in my sleep, sadly. I mean, that's all I talk about all day. I'll have
bottom hand.
If you have top hand, bottom hand, ready, aim, fire, step, then swing, step, then throw. I mean, I can go through these backwards, forwards. And for me, it makes sense because I've done it so much. I've had to do it and that's the cool thing. To answer what you had asked earlier, one of the cool things I've done, coming full circle, I understand what these kids are going through. So if we're talking and they're like, I'm stressed about this, or I had this happen, I can legitimately say I've been there and I've done it. Whereas, the coaches will say, oh, don't worry about this. Or, it's hard for them to relate because they haven't actually gone through that. So just being sympathetic with what they're doing or going through or experiencing is very important. But yes, this is something that is very, very important. So if my bottom hand, if I cut in half, if my bottom hand is stronger, it's going to be where the other question about on the tee where the bat head drops and stuff, the bottom hand takes over. And so we kind of make this Nike sign where it kind of does this motion and we go down. Yeah. So we go down and then we come around. Versus if the top hand is stronger, if the bottom hand is stronger, we're going to be longer. So for you guys, mostly the right-handed, if it's the left hand strong, it's going to be long. And, for me, it's the top hand for this one. But basically the top hand, and I tell kids, most of them are right-handed hitters. So I say, if we're going to have arm wrestling, a thumb war, if you're going to write, if you were going to do something, which hand is stronger? And they go, well, my right hand, which is their top hand. And I say, but why do you want to use your weaker hand to hit with? That's kind of but that's when we feel our hips meeting that resistance. So if the top hand is stronger, and I absolutely despised one hand drills when I was younger because I did them wrong, where my bottom hand would drop and then my top hand would drop because I wasn't doing it properly. Nobody ever said, this is how we do this drill. It was just basically top hand, bottom hand. And my wrist would hurt and it wasn't working because I wasn't doing it right. So that's why if the top hand is stronger, we're going to be shorter to the ball. If my bottom hand is stronger, my bat's going to drop, and then we're going to either, if we're doing tee work, we're going to get frustrated and hit the tee, or we're going to either, pop it up or roll over a ball. So that's kind of the importance. But yes, when in doubt, if you hit right-handed, your right hand is stronger because that's the top hand. If you hit left-handed, your left hand is stronger. So basically, whatever side you're hitting on, that's a strong one. And you'll see them when they're doing it. Mm-hmm. When they're doing tee work is really good to do with this. It's going to be super. They go, oh, I can do that. And then they start doing it. And then they're going to start doing this motion. So we're just trying to keep that top hand strong. Or another thing I like talking about is talking about the bat being a shark fin. How long can we keep the shark fin up? Because if we do that, the top hand will be strong. If the bottom hand takes over, the shark fin falls into the water. And then it doesn't work.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Marianne and Ted, do we have anything else to conclude with? It looks like we're about time to end.
Yeah. If anybody has any questions, ask away. And
I think, does anyone else have any other questions? I haven't seen any popped up. I just really appreciate, Coach Bryan, that you helping inspiring the kids and the families, and this has just been really, really great. And we're seeing some comments pop up right now. This was really great. Thank you, Coach Bryan, from the players, parents. Yeah, everyone's saying thank you. So we just really appreciate your advice.
Of course.
And explaining everything and getting down to the mechanics.
Absolutely. I want to keep it super simple. And if you guys have questions, please reach out. I'm always here because I know it seems like a lot. It's really not, but when it's first time, the second time, and third and fourth, it's still a lot to retain. But it all kind of just keeps it super simple. So, but yeah, absolutely. Anything you guys need, I'm always here for you.
Thank you. Coach Bryan, taking the time on this beautiful day to share your experiences and your greatest joys, and most important, we appreciate you sharing the love of the game with this because I know they're going to carry the torch and keep this game alive.
Please do.
And I believe, we appreciate you giving us hope. That we can improve and always strive to do our best. So thank you, Coach Bryan.
Have fun. Absolutely, guys. Thank you, and just have fun. Don't take it too seriously.
Ted, is there anything else we want to say before we conclude?
No, thank you so much, Coach Bryan, for doing this.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Awesome. Thank you guys thank you for the opportunity. I so appreciate it.
Okay. So thank you, everybody, for joining us on this lovely Saturday. Enjoy your weekend, and we hope to see you soon practicing on the fields. And if we don't, we hope to see you in fall ball too. And stay safe, and we will catch up and have fun.
Very much. Thank you so much.
Bye, everybody.